It is our 20th year. You can't see it, but the size of this typeface alone is proof of that. For me, it's rather different from Kate's script. I've been asked to explain what inspired me to set up the awards. There are perhaps two answers. The longer answer is that some years ago I came across a letter written to one of my forebears, Charles Whitley, addressed to him in my hometown Shrewsbury in August 1828. Charles Whitley was trying to convince his friend to study maths and to pursue a serious career, but his friend replied, and I quote, "But here goes. I am idle as idle can be. One of the causes you have hit upon, viz. Irresolution. The other is being made fully aware that my noddle," for our winners that means your head, "is not capacious enough to retain or comprehend mathematics. Beetle hunting and such things, I grieve to say, is my proper sphere." In a later letter to another friend, October 1828, this self-confessed beetle hunter wrote, "When I arrived home, I received such a letter from old Whitley. Weakness, folly, irresolution, idleness, and many other long and terrible words filled up the measure of his epistle. I sent a most submissive and humble answer, but in return merely received an acknowledgement of my extreme candour and another charge of the same description." Charles Whitley wanted the correspondent, his great friend at both Shrewsbury and Cambridge, also called Charles, to become a mathematician, to stop his frivolous beetle hunting and get a proper job. Had he done so, the way we view the world might be rather different, because of course Charles Darwin stuck with beetle hunting. Now, a generation later, the beetle hunting gene cropped up in my family. My great-great-uncle Herbert Whitley collected animals and set up Paynton Zoo. He in turn commissioned another young beetle hunter called Gerald Durrell to hunt any kind of animal from a beetle upwards in West Africa, and he filled his zoo with them. And now my great-aunt Rosie, who's with us tonight, she remembers playing with Uncle Herbert's pet chimpanzee called Mary Ellen. And Rosie, we're so thrilled to have you here with us. Now, in due course, Jerry set up his zoo, and by the time I became friends with Jerry, he also set up an international training centre next door to Jersey Zoo, and this caught my attention. I was actually less interested in the zoo, but I was very interested in the people from around the world who had come to the training centre. I wanted to go one step further. I wanted to set up a charity which gave these local conservationists the funding and the authority to pursue their work in their own countries. It seemed to me that the balance of the world was tipping, and that they were the only people who could bring about long-lasting change in their countries rather than the well-meaning outsiders. So we don't prescribe what anyone should do. We simply try and find people, their local heroes, their national heroes. They're actually action heroes who are making a measurable difference, and we feel privileged to be part of their work. Looking back on the last 20 years, there are rather too many highlights to recount, but just at the very beginning, I remember sitting down with Nigel Windsor, then the deputy director here, to outline the vision. It was just a gleam in my eye, but I had set up my entire plan to him, and we'd even got as far as doodling the logo on napkins when he asked me the budget. £15,000, I told him brightly. Now, Nigel, who is a robust man, even Nigel faltered for a moment. "Well," he said, "let's just see how it goes." Nigel, thank you for that first leap of faith, because it really wouldn't have got off the ground without you. A couple of years later, I received a letter out of the blue from James Teacher. Was there room for a second award? Well, indeed there was. And then a little bit later, a similar meeting with the inspirational Rufford Foundation made the snowball larger, and we had our first awards ceremony where Her Royal Highness joined us as patron in 1999, and by then the RGS were pulling out all the stops. Things really started motoring when Catherine Folkes joined us, and Catherine's energy and style, your great panache, took us to a different platform, and she's ensured that this auditorium is always packed. I'm so delighted to see it packed to the rafters. And the Friends Award, which is funded by everybody here, now raises over £100,000 a year. Now, we hope this will continue to grow, and it will spill over into continuation funding, where we fund our previous backlist of winners. So in parallel with our winners, the main thing which has inspired me over the last 20 years has been how many people wish to support us. And your contributions have raised our morale. Your generosity has been passed straight through to our winners. And what's so exciting for me is that you really understand what we're doing. We've been building up a daisy chain of winners, but it all starts in this room. There are many supporters, there are many family trusts who have come here year after year. They brought their children with them, and now I'm thrilled to see they're bringing their grandchildren with them. And you understand this is a long-term commitment. And William Brake, looking at you, you once said to me, "Look here, Edward, the charity does all the hard work. It's easy for us, we just sign the cheques." Well, you're very kind to say so, William, but of course signing a cheque might appear to be hard work. Sorry. Signing a cheque might not appear to be very hard work. But none of us are under any illusion that the ability to sign the cheque comes off the back of very hard work. And there's an enormous competition to be the name of that charity written on that cheque. I mentioned that there are two answers to what inspired this charity. And the second shorter answer is very easy. It was the birth of our first child, Ella. She's now 20 years old. And holding her in my arms in hospital, I looked down at this tiny baby, and I simply promised to her that I would do what I could to help make this world a better place for her and her generation. So Ella, you're with us tonight, and you and your sisters and brother have grown up, and so has the charity. So I hope this is a passion that we all share. I think it unites us all here tonight as we edge closer to handing this world over to the next generation. We welcome you. We thank you all very much for coming to celebrate with us and making the world, I hope, a better place, and the work of this charity and the sort of winners that you meet here tonight possible. Thank you very much indeed.